Hello everybody and welcome to my tutorial where I'm going to show you how to create a simple email sender service in Spring Boot. So we're going to start this project by creating an empty Spring Boot project, and you can do that by going to the start.spring.io URL address, and you're going to get presented with the Spring Initializer where we can create our Spring Boot project. So now we're going to leave the project type as Maven, the language as Java, and the Spring Boot version, we're going to leave the current LTS version, which is 2.6.1. Now in your case, when you're watching this video, the version might be different, and just stick with the current selected LTS version here and it should be fine. For the project metadata, we're going to leave the group com.example. That can be, we're going to leave that like that. We're going to change the artifact name to email sender. And I'm just going to change the package name to be email sender like this. I guess the packaging is going to be jar, and the Java version I'm going to choose 11 because that's what I currently have installed. If you have something else, that's what you should choose here. But currently I have Java 11, so I'm going to keep it with Java 11. And now let's see what are the dependencies that we're going to need for this project. So right here on the right, we can add dependencies. I'm going to click this and I'm going to choose the spring.web. So I'm going to search for the Spring Web dependency. That's one that we're going to need. And then we're going to need the mail sender. So I'm just going to say Java mail sender here. And this is the other dependency that we're going to need in order to be able to send emails. And these are all of the dependencies that we're going to need. So we're not going to need anything else from the dependencies for this project. And then I'm just going to click generate right here. This is going to download a zip file right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open that zip file, and I'll extract this project to the desktop right here. And I'm going to close the zip file. And here is where I extracted that zip file right on the desktop. Now I'm going to open Startup IntelliJ, and with IntelliJ, we're going to open that project. So IntelliJ is starting up right now, and I'll click open. So I'll wait for it to start up, and I'll open an already existing project, which is going to be this email sender right here. So just to clarify that, so I clicked on the open thing here, and then I'm going to go and I'm going to choose so I'm going to go to my desktop right here, and I'm just going to choose, I will choose the email sender, and you want to choose the one here that has that has the thing that identifies that it's that it's a project. So you want to click this one here on the outer folder. So for example, here the outer folder of the project is the email sender folder, and that's exactly where you want to click. So you click this thing and you click OK. And then this asks you, do you trust this project? Because it may have some scripts that are not really good to be ran. For example, if you download it from an unknown source, but in this case we downloaded it from a source that we know it's from Spring, and we know that it's used to generate Spring projects. So we do know where did we download it from, and we know that it's an empty Spring Boot project. So that's why we can click Trust Project in this case. And this is gonna open the project in IntelliJ, and it's gonna download the Maven dependencies that are specified in the pom.xml file. Now, if we go ahead and check the pom.xml file while it's downloading the dependencies, you're going to be able to see that we do have the Spring Boot Starter Mail and Spring Boot Starter Web right here. And those are the two dependencies that we're going to use. Now, let's see how shall we start with this project. So the first thing that you're probably gonna need, or the first thing that you're probably gonna need, is gonna be definitely the so you're gonna need to create. So when you first create a Spring Boot application, what you get is you just get the main class, and that's it. So now we're gonna come to the main package here, and we're gonna create a new package, and I'm gonna name it service. I'm just gonna name it service. Now in the service, we're gonna create an interface. I'm gonna create an interface, and it's gonna be called email sender service. And in this service package, I'm going to create another package, and I'm going to name it IMPL, or that stands for implementation. And in this, in here, we're going to implement the email sender service. Now, this service is going to consist of only one method, and that method is going to return a void, and it's going to be named send email. And it's going to receive as a string to whom to send the email. It's going to receive the subject, and it's going to receive the text, or that's going to be the message. So, or we can name it message, I guess. And then we're going to go in the IMPL here in the implementation. We're going to create a new class, and we're going to name the class email sender service IMPL, or that stands for implementation. We will annotate this class with the service annotation. This is gonna make sure that Spring picks it up as a bin and creates an object when it starts. And then we are gonna implement this service. So we're gonna implement the email sender service right here. And with Alt and Enter, I can click here on this thing, and it's gonna tell me that I need to implement some methods. And in this case, it's just one method. So I'm just gonna click that I wanna implement that method. Now, this is exactly where we're gonna implement the method. And now let's see how shall we do that. So the first thing that we are gonna need here is gonna be something that's called, we're gonna need to inject something, and that's gonna be the Java mail sender. So we need to inject that, and I'm gonna name it mail sender. That's already comes from the package that we installed. So the Spring package that we installed for the email sending, that already comes there, and that's why we are injecting that, because we're gonna use that to send the email. So I'm gonna add it as a constructor parameter, and as you can see, that's now going to be injected here. A bin of an object of that thing is going to be injected in here, and we're going to be able to use it. Now, what do we send? So in order to send something, we need to create a simple mail message. And simple mail message would be a new simple mail message. This is what the Java mail sender can use in order to send an email. Now we created an object out of this simple mail message. Now we're gonna fill that object with the data. So the simple mail message will receive a from, so set from, so we can set from which email are we gonna be sending. This is where we're gonna put the email, but I'm not gonna put it right now, I'm gonna put it a little later. This is where we can also set the to, so we can set to, and that's going to be a string. Actually, the to is going to be from the function. So from the method here, we're sending to as a parameter, and that's exactly what we're going to put into the message. So we're going to put here to, and then we're going to set the subject to be equal to what we sent in this method. So we're going to set the subject to the subject and the message to the message. So simple mail message dot set text. And for the text, we're just gonna put the message right here. And then all we have to do is call the method. So all we have to do is just call this dot mail sender, and we can just send email. We can just click here, send, and we can send this simple mail message. Now, as you can see, what do we have here? Let's take a look at it again. So we've injected this Java mail sender, and we're creating a simple mail message that has a from address. We haven't put it yet, but we're gonna put it later. It has a set to address that's the email where we want to, that's the recipient of the email. It has a subject and a message, and we are using this Java mail sender to send that simple mail message. Now, what I want to do right now. So right now, I want to show you how can we connect. So for example, in this case, this is not really gonna work because we haven't connected our Spring Boot application with our own email from which we are gonna be sending all of these emails. And in order to do that, we're gonna have to go to our application.properties right here. In order to connect it to the thing, we're gonna have to add some properties right here, and I'll show you exactly what are those properties and how you can add them in just a second. But before we do that, I would like to show you the so for example, before we do that, I would like to show you how are we going to use this service. So we're going to use this service in a testing controller, and in this case I'm going to create another package right here, and I'm going to name the package, it's going to be named controller. It's going to be named controller right here. And in this controller package, what I'm going to do is I will add a Java class, which is going to be email sender or email controller. Let's call it like that. And in this email controller, we're first gonna annotate it to be a REST controller, because we're gonna use this as a REST API. And then I'm gonna put one post mapping in here, and the post mapping can be on /send email, I guess. And this is gonna be a public, it's gonna return a response entity, and it's gonna, the name of the method can be sent email. And now let's think through this. So the best way to get the parameters here would be to send them as a JSON in the request body. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do here. But now it would be really nice if we have some resource class that we can pick up here and just take it, as a JSON body. So that's why I'm gonna create another package right here, and I'm gonna name it resource. And I'm just gonna create a class here, a basic class that's gonna be named email message, for example. And in this email message, I'm just gonna have a private string of 2, a private string of subject, and a private string message. I'll right click here and I'll generate the default constructors. So the default constructor, the one with all arguments, and I'll just go ahead and do that real quickly here. So I'll generate the one with all arguments, and I'll generate getters and setters for this resource. So let's do that. And now we just have a very basic class that just has 3 properties, basically a 2, a subject, and a message. And we're gonna come to the controller, and in the request.body, we're gonna say that we're gonna be expecting an email message right here. And that's exactly what we're gonna be expecting. And now, in order to use this email service that we've just created, we're gonna have to inject it in our controller. And in order to do that, I'm gonna have to come to my controller right here, and I'm gonna have to inject it. So I'm gonna use constructor-based injection. I'm gonna say private final email sender service, and I'm gonna do Alt-Enter here to add the constructor parameter so that I can use this service in this controller right here. And then all I have to do right now in order to use this service, it's gonna be to call this email sender service dot send email, and I'm just gonna say email message dot get to. So that's the first parameter. The second parameter is email message dot get subject, and the other one's gonna be email message dot get message. And those are the 3 parameters that we need to send in here to the service. So it does that, and then here I'm just gonna return a string. Basically, I'm gonna return a string, and the string is gonna be success. That we've successfully, but we can't just return a string, obviously. We will wrap it in a response entity.ok, and I'll just wrap a string success like that. So if we successfully send the email, we're just going to receive back a string of success. So that's going to be our controller, and now everything is almost set up. The thing that we have to do is the configuration for our email address. So what I have here is I already created an account here, an email address on Gmail, and this is the email sender service tutorial at gmail.com, and we are gonna use that email address to we're gonna connect this email address to our Spring Boot application to be used as the sender email address for these emails. So that's what I'm gonna show you in the next part of this video. So now we're gonna have to connect our email, our Google email address, our Gmail address with our Spring Boot application. And in order to do that, we're gonna go back in our project and we're gonna go to the resources folder and to the application.properties file. Now right here, I will paste some parameters and I'll explain them. So the first one is saying that we're going to be using the Gmail SMTP server. This is the port of the server, and this is the auth that we want to use, and we want to use the TLS that we want the security enabled there. Now, the third and the fourth line are the email and the password, and as you can see, I didn't put them right here in this file. Because that's not really the best way to do it. So I put an environment variable right here. So two environment variables. One is the email and the other one is the password. And now how can you put values to these environment variables? Well, we first have to run our Spring Boot application. So I'll run the application. It should successfully run. And let's just run it. Because we can run it, but it's not gonna work. But if we try to test it out, it's not gonna work because we haven't connected an email. But we can still run the application, and I will then stop the application. And as you can see, because if we don't run it for the first time, we're not gonna have this configuration here. But now we do have the configuration, and now we can go here, and we can click on the edit configurations, and then we can go into. As you can see here, if we choose this configuration, we have environment variables. And right here is where I'm gonna add the environment variables. So I'm gonna add one for the email, and I'm gonna add another one for the password. Now, I'll add my email right here so that I can show you, because is this email right here. Oops, I did not mean to do that, but I just meant to copy this thing. And did I copy it? I hope I did. Let me see. Yes, so there's the email. And then off camera, I'll add my password right here as the value. So I'll stop the recording right now. I'll add the password and I'll continue with the recording again. So I'll stop it right now. And right now, after I added my environment variables, when the application starts, this thing here is going to get filled out with the email, and this thing here is going to get filled out with the password. And now what I'm gonna come back to the email sender service implementation, and as the set from address, I'm gonna set the email that I have set up in my application.properties right here. So that's gonna be the address that we're gonna be sending from. And with all of that set up like that, we have this service successfully built. So the service now should work. Now, one more thing you have to do if you're using Gmail, because Gmail by default does not allow for less secure apps to access your account. So what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to go to your Google account and you're gonna have to search for less secure apps access. And you're gonna have to enable this thing right here. Now, this is what you have to do if you're using the Google email or a Gmail account to do this. You're gonna have to enable this. And now what I'm gonna do is I'll run the application. So let's run it. And we're gonna test it out and see if it works. So I'm gonna run the application. We're gonna see if it starts. So let's see if it's gonna start up. It should start up. Yes, it started up right here, as you can see. And now let's go through it once more. So what do we have here? We have an interface with one method, send email. We're implementing that method in the implementation, where we're injecting the Java mail sender, and we are creating a simple mail message, and we are sending that simple mail message. Now we're using this service in our controller right here. So in the controller right here, we're using that service. So in the controller, we're receiving an email message that's going to be received as a JSON here in the request body. That's why we created this resource right here with all of these 3 parameters right here. And then we're going to receive that in our email controller, and we are going to use the email sender service to send the email, and then we're going to return a response entity OK status. And that's what should happen. Now we're going to go ahead and test out to see if this thing actually works. So in order to test out this API post route, I'm going to be using Postman. And I already filled out the data here, as you can see before. But what I have here, I have a post request to localhost 8080/send email. I chose here to use a body, and I chose the raw format, and I chose JSON here. And what I have in the JSON, I have a to, so I have a parameter to, which is the to which email to send it. I'm going to send it to my own email here. This is the subject, so it says this is a test subject, and this is the text, but it's not text, it's actually message. So I should change this because we're expecting here the JSON field to be message, because this is going to map to as these are here. So this is going to be mapped in the JSON to, this is going to be to subject, and this is going to be to the message. So we have to send them with the same names. So this has to be to, this has to be subject, and this has to be message. And right now, if I'm gonna first open my Gmail here, as you can see, the last email here that this is when I was testing this before is in 5:23 right here. And I can even I'm gonna leave them like this. So I'm just gonna go ahead, click the send, and as you can see, it didn't find the route. I guess we maybe messed up something in the controller or something. Nope, we didn't mess up. I guess before when I was testing it, I had it named differently, but now it's send email, as you can see. So I'll just adjust that right here, and I'll just say send email, and I'll click again. And this time we're gonna get, I guess, the success. And as you can see, we got the success string right now. And right now, if I go, as you can see, even here, I have a notification that I have one message in the inbox. And if I come here, you can see that right now at 6:04 p.m., I have a message received, and it's the same message. So it has the subject here. This is a test subject. This comes obviously from here. And this test message comes from, that's the body right here. So yeah, guys, that's going to be all for this video. I hope you learned something new, and see you until the next one.